to spend 10 to 15 minutes on it, inshallah ta'ala, maximum. So we reached where Ibn Qayyim talks about istiqamat al-qalb, the uprightness of the heart. And the uprightness of the heart takes place with two things. With ta'zim al-amr wal-nahi, making the orders and prohibitions of Allah great. And then he says that would not take place unless one magnifies the legislator of that which is good, the legislator of the prohibitions and the orders. So you have to make Allah great in your life before you even make what He orders and prohibits great in your life. In other words, the deen of Islam will be important to you only if Allah is important to you. Yeah? So Ibn Qayyim goes on to speak, rahimahullah, when he gives examples of alamat ta'zim al-amr wa nahi. He says, rahimahullah ta'ala, وَمِنْ عَلَامَةِ تَعْظِيمِ الْأَمْرِ وَالنَّهِي أن السنة وردت بإبراد بالظهر في شدة الحر. He says, عفوا. He says, ألا يسترسل مع الرخصة إلى حد يكون صاحبه جافيا غير مستقيما على المنهج الوسط. He says, basically, not to be an individual that is very, very lackadaisical on the orders and prohibitions, and not being someone that is in the middle course. And he says, مثال ذلك أن السنة وردت بالإبراد بالظهر في شدة الحر. He said an example of that is that the sunnah is legislated that one can use water to become cold in the depths of heat. So if it is very hot outside, one can use water to become cold. Actually, the Prophet ﷺ during Salat al-Dhuhr, at certain times, he would allow them to delay Salat al-Dhuhr because of the harsh heat, and they would make wudu with cold water. He said, فَالتَّرَخُصُ الْجَافِي أَن يُبْرِدَ إِلَى فَوَاتِ الْوَقْتِ. He says, فَالتَّرَخُصُ الْجَافِي. So for someone that is going too far with this particular rukhsa, because this is a concession. Concession meaning an exception to the rule, or that which has given you permission to do something that in regular cases it would not be generally allowed or recommended to do. He says if someone was to use this method of being cold until the exiting of the time of Dhuhr, so they would still use this cold water or to delay their prayer because of the heat that was in the beginning of the time, and let that go and delay to the end of time. أو مفارقة أو مقاربة خروجه. Or if it was coming close to the end of that time. فَيَكُونُ مُتَرَخِّصًا جَافِيًا. In this case, the person is using the concessions in a lackadaisical way. And if we think about it and make an analogy with that on many other aspects of the religion that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us permission to do. So for instance, if someone is traveling, what's the ruling on prayer and traveling? Who can tell us? Qasr. What is qasr? Shortening the prayers. And you can also do what? You can combine the prayers. So for instance, if you want to combine Fajr and Dhuhr, right? So you can't combine Fajr and Dhuhr? Y'all say prayers. So Fajr is not a part of the prayers?
Yes.
Allah, what are we doing here? What part of the religion is this? Right, you can only combine what? Dhuhr and Asr? Maghrib and Isha. Right? And you can combine them when? So say you're traveling, okay? You sleep over, you wake up for Fajr, you offer Fajr, right? And it's time. Yeah. Okay, then Dhuhr comes in. What can you do when Dhuhr comes in if you're a traveler? Let's say you're in Houston.
You pray Dhuhr first,
Hmm?
then you can follow the Asr.
So as soon as Dhuhr comes in, can you pray Dhuhr and Asr together? Yes. Okay. As soon as Dhuhr goes out, can you pray Dhuhr and Asr together? As soon as Asr comes in, can you pray Dhuhr and Asr together? Yeah. From the beginning of Dhuhr till the very close to the end of Asr, you can pray Dhuhr and Asr-ish? Together. Together. Right? But if someone waits till the very, very end of Asr, and they're very, very sure that Maghrib is coming in about a minute, and then they wait and then Maghrib comes out, Maghrib comes in and they haven't prayed. This is where one is using the concession not in a correct way. It's a concession. Concession means it's a permissible act for otherwise than travel it wouldn't be permissible to do. Fahimtum? And by the way, the best situation in traveling is to offer the prayers in their times, qasran, bidun jam'. So the best situation is if one was to offer dhuhr 2 rakats, but when Dhuhr comes in. And then make Asr 2 rakats when Asr comes in. You could combine, but there's difference of opinion amongst the scholars in that, in any case. So here the Prophet, Ibn Qayyim is mentioning this, and this is important because this deals with the manners of the Sharia and the Deen. And he's talking about how to make the Deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala great. Then he goes on to speak, rahimahullah. I'm going to skip a few parts, but he says something very beautiful here, and I'll end here. It's a beautiful portion. He says, فحقيقة التعظيم للأمر والنهي أن لا يعارض بترخص جاف ولا يعرض لتشديد غال فإن المقصود هو الصراط المستقيم الموصل إلى الله عز وجل بسالكه. He says, so the reality of making the order and the prohibitions is basically not to be very, very hard on the concessions, and not to be hard on the concessions to where you are lackadaisical, very lazy, and taking advantage of the concessions beyond their limits, right? What we just to give an example of. وَلَا يُعَرَّضَ لِتَشْدِيدٍ غَالٍ, and also not being too harsh on that, on the deen. So basically being too harsh in the religion. And then he says, فَإِنَّ الْمَقْصُودُ هُوَ الصِّرَاطَ الْمُسْتَقِيمُ, verily the goal and the intention is the clear, the straight path that gets us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the one that treads that path. He says, وَأَمَّا أَمْرَ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ بِأَمْرٍ وَمَا أَمْرَ اللَّهُ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ بِأَمْرٍ إِلَّا وَلِلشَّيْطَانِ فِيهِ نَزْغَتَانِ. We're going to take this subject, it's 3 lines, and then we'll finish. He says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has never legislated something or a situation except for shaitan. There's 2 ways that he literally pokes you. Right? Nazgha is like to poke or to come at you. He says, إِمَّا تَقْصِيرٌ وَالتَّفْرِيطٌ, either with being someone that is negligent, okay, وَإِمَّا إِفْرَاطٌ وَغُلُوٌ, or someone that goes beyond the bounds and is, what? Harsh or rigid. There we even say rigid on the religion. فَلَا يُبَالِي بِمَا ظَفَرْ مِنَ الْعَبْدِ مِنَ الْخُطَّتَيْنِ. He says he doesn't care which one of the 2 you take. And that's very important. A lot of times we'll see the person that is harsh in their religion. You know, like for instance ISIS. Right? Are they Muslim? They're Muslim, but they're very harsh in their understanding of their religion, which takes them outside of the correct understanding. Not outside of Islam. Outside of the correct understanding. You know, they take from a group that was during the time of Ali radiallahu anhu called the Kharijites, the Khawarij. Anyone that had a major sin, they took him outside of the fold of Islam. Meaning that his blood was halal. Meaning that if you killed him, you are not a sinner. Now, so this was some of the part of their methodological understanding, ISIS, for example. They went too far beyond the bounds. They're Muslim, yes, but their interpretation of certain parts of the religion was incorrect. And that's where he says, تَشْدِيدٍ غَالٍ. Or the one that is saying, إِمَّا تَقْصِيرٌ وَالتَّفْرِيطٌ وَإِمَّا إِفْرَاطٌ وَغُلُوٌ. So someone that is saying, for instance, tafriq, they're lackadaisical in the religion. Wallahi, it's 2020. First they say it's 2023. It is not obligatory for the woman to wear hijab. It's not obligatory for her to wear hijab. It depends on where you're living. La. If someone that doesn't wear hijab, it's impermissible. It's haram. But depends on what's the reason why they're not doing it. If they say, wallahi, I have I'm trying my best to do so. Do you believe that it's haram to uncover? Yes, it's haram, but I'm trying my best to do so. Or they say, no, that was from the past. Now it's different. La. Hatu burhanakum in kuntum sadiqin. Bring your proof of evidence to show that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows for this to happen. So, negligence or going too far beyond the bounds. And then he says here, وَقَدْ فُتِنَ بِهَذَا أَكْثَرُ الْخَلْقِ. He says that most of mankind has been trialed with this fitna. One or the other. And he says, وَلَا يُنْجِي مِنْ ذَلِكَ إِلَّا عِلْمٌ رَاسِخٌ. And no one will be saved from that fitna, one or the other, except with pure, sound knowledge. وَإِيمَانٌ, and iman. وَقُوَّةٌ عَلَى مَحَارِبَتِهِ. And strength and honor upon fighting that type of understanding or practice. وَلُزُومُ الْوَسَطِ, and this is important, and having allegiance to the middle path, the middle course, not being too harsh and not being too easy, right? And all of us are parents here, and for those that are young, future parents, sometimes you have to know when to apply the discipline, the sledgehammer, and sometimes you need to know when to give the roses. This time may warrant this particular child, you may need this type of methodology. This particular child may need another. That requires, and being a parent, that's what makes being a parent not easy, but it's blessed. Because all of that is an investment. In the same situation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you're practicing this deen. And then he says, Wallahu al-musta'an, and Allah is the one that we seek ultimate help in. So Ibn al-Qayyim concludes this beautiful portion of making the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala great in our lives, and honoring the religion. And the way that one honors a religion, the first condition of that is honoring Allah, which means knowing Allah and understanding who He is. That's how we make the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala great in our lives. And remembering that shaitan will always come at you in any aspect of your life by making you take it too easy or making you be too harsh. Make you take it too easy or making you be too harsh in your faith. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us to be of those that are on the middle path in everything that we do. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of those, and when we take this pathway, it is a pathway with ikhlas and sincerity. إنه ولي ذلك يا رب العالمين اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار. O the creator of the heavens and the earth, make us of those that worship you in secret and in open. Ya Rabbil Alameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen, اغفر لنا ذنوبنا, forgive us for our sins. Ya Rabbil Alameen, protect our brothers and sisters in Gaza, in Sudan, in Afghanistan, in China, in Morocco, in Libya, in Kashmir, in all around the world, in the eastern parts and the western parts of the world. Ya Rabbil Alameen. O Allah, bless us in our hearts with our trust and faith and honor in you and in your predestination. Ya Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amen.